She was 3 seconds away from ending it all when he grabbed her wrist and pulled her back from the ledge. But saving her life was just the beginning. Because the man who rescued her wasn't just any stranger. He was Seoul's most feared underground king. And he had plans for her that would change everything. If you want to know how a Ghanaian medical student became the obsession of Korea's most dangerous man, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this story will take you on a journey you won't believe. And if you make it to the end, drop a comment telling me if you think she made the right choice. Now, let's begin. Dr. Nia Mensah stood on the rooftop of Seoul National University Hospital at 3 a.m., her white coat flapping in the winter wind. 26 years old, brilliant, exhausted, and completely broken. She'd come to South Korea 6 months ago on a prestigious medical exchange program, one of only 5 African students selected. It was supposed to be the opportunity of a lifetime. A chance to learn from the best trauma surgeons in Asia. A chance to make her family in Accra proud. A chance to prove that a girl from a modest Ghanaian family could stand among the world's elite. But tonight, standing on this rooftop, none of that mattered anymore. Because 3 hours ago, she'd lost a patient. A 7-year-old boy who'd reminded her so much of her younger brother back home. She'd done everything right, followed every protocol, made every correct decision. But sometimes, even when you do everything right, people still die. And this death, this one small life, had broken something inside her that she didn't know how to fix. The hospital administration was blaming her. Whispers of malpractice. Accusations that she wasn't qualified, that the program had made a mistake accepting an African student, that she didn't belong here. Her supervising physician, Dr. Park, had been cold and dismissive when she'd tried to explain. "Your kind doesn't have what it takes for this level of medicine," he'd said. "Maybe you should go back to where you came from." The words had cut deeper than any scalpel ever could. Nia looked down at the street 40 floors below. It would be quick. Painless. An end to the crushing weight of failure and prejudice and loneliness. Her family would grieve, but they'd move on. They'd be better off without her shame. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. But before her foot could leave the concrete, a hand shot out and grabbed her wrist with bruising strength. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" a male voice said in Korean. Nia's eyes flew open to see a man standing beside her. He was tall, probably early 30s, wearing an expensive black suit despite the late hour. His face was striking, all sharp angles and cold beauty. Dark eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. A scar running along his left jaw. He looked dangerous. Like violence wrapped in silk. "Let go of me," Nia said in English, trying to pull away. The man's grip didn't loosen. He pulled her back from the edge with effortless strength, spinning her around to face him. In Korean, he repeated, "What were you doing?" "I don't speak Korean," Nia snapped, switching to English and still struggling. "Please just leave me alone." The man studied her for a moment, then switched to perfect English with barely an accent. "You were about to jump." "Why?" "Because it's none of your business," Nia said, tears streaming down her face now. "Because I'm tired. Because I failed. Because I don't belong here and everyone keeps reminding me of that. Now please, just let me go." The man's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those cold eyes. Empathy maybe. Or recognition. "No," he said simply. "I won't let you go. You're coming with me." Before Nia could protest, he'd pulled out his phone and made a call in rapid Korean. Within minutes, 3 black SUVs pulled up to the hospital's back entrance. The man, still holding Nia's wrist, led her down the stairs and into one of the vehicles. She should have been terrified. Should have screamed or fought. But she was too exhausted, too numb, to do anything but let herself be taken. They drove through Seoul streets in silence. Nia stared out the window, watching the neon lights blur past. "Where are you taking me?" she finally asked. "Somewhere safe," the man replied. "You're not going to hurt yourself tonight. Or any other night. I won't allow it." "Who are you to decide that?" Nia demanded. "Who are you to interfere?" The man looked at her then, really looked at her, and said quietly, "Someone who understands what it's like to stand on that edge. Someone who knows that sometimes, the only thing that saves you is another person refusing to let you fall." They arrived at a massive modern building in Gangnam. The man led her into a private elevator that went straight to the penthouse. The space was stunning, all floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist furniture, expensive art. But Nia barely noticed. She was too busy trying to process what had just happened. The man gestured to a couch. "Sit," he said. "I'll make tea. You need to warm up." Nia sat, her body moving on autopilot. The man disappeared into the kitchen and returned minutes later with 2 cups of green tea. He sat across from her, his posture relaxed but his eyes watchful. "My name is Kang Jae-sung," he said. "And you are?" "Nia Mensah," she replied automatically. "Dr. Nia Mensah. From Ghana. I'm a medical resident at Seoul National University Hospital. Or I was. I don't know anymore." Jae-sung nodded slowly. "What happened tonight, Dr. Mensah? Why were you on that roof?" Nia's hand shook around the warm cup. "I lost a patient," she whispered. "A little boy. I did everything right, but he died anyway. And now they're saying it was my fault. That I'm not good enough. That I don't belong here because of where I'm from." She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face again. "Do you know what it's like to work twice as hard as everyone else just to be seen as half as good? To be questioned and doubted and dismissed every single day because of the color of your skin. I came here to learn. To be better. And instead, I'm being destroyed." Jae-sung was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Yes. I know exactly what that's like. To be judged. To be told you're not enough. To fight for every scrap of respect. But taking your life won't prove them wrong, Dr. Mensah. It will only confirm their prejudice. That you weren't strong enough. That you couldn't handle it. Is that the legacy you want to leave?" Nia looked at him through blurred vision. "What else am I supposed to do?" "Keep fighting," Jae-sung said. "Keep proving them wrong every single day. And if you need help doing that, then accept help. From me. From anyone who believes in you. But don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you quit." Nia's voice was barely audible. "Why do you care? You don't even know me." Jae-sung's expression was unreadable. "Because 5 years ago, I was standing on a different rooftop for different reasons. And someone pulled me back. Saved my life when I didn't want to be saved. And I'm still here. Still fighting. Still alive. So now I'm paying it forward. You stay here tonight. Tomorrow, we figure out what comes next. But tonight, you sleep. You rest. And you don't make any permanent decisions. Understood?" Nia was too exhausted to argue. She nodded. Jae-sung showed her to a guest room that was bigger than her entire apartment. Clean sheets. Soft pillows. A view of Seoul at night that was almost painfully beautiful. "Sleep, Dr. Mensah," Jae-sung said from the doorway. "Things will look different in the morning. They always do." He closed the door, and Nia collapsed onto the bed, fully clothed, and fell into a dreamless sleep. She woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the memories of last night came flooding back. The rooftop. The stranger. The rescue. She sat up slowly, her body aching, her mind clearer than it had been in weeks. She found Jae-sung in the kitchen, cooking breakfast. He'd changed into casual clothes, jeans, and a simple black shirt, but he still looked expensive. Dangerous. "Good morning," he said without turning around. "There's coffee on the counter." "Black, no sugar." "How did you know how I take my coffee?" Nia asked, suspicious. "I didn't," Jae-sung replied. "That's how I take mine. If you want something different, help yourself." Nia poured a cup and found that black, no sugar was exactly what she needed. They ate breakfast in silence, scrambled eggs and toast that Jae-sung had somehow made taste gourmet. Finally, Nia couldn't take it anymore. "Who are you really?" she asked. "You're not just some good Samaritan who happened to be on that roof. And this," she gestured around the luxury penthouse. "People who can afford this don't just invite strangers to stay the night." "So who are you, Kang Jae-sung?" Jae-sung set down his fork and looked at her directly. "I'm a businessman," he said. "I run several enterprises in Seoul. Import, export, real estate, entertainment. My family has been influential in Korea for generations. And you're right. I don't usually invite strangers into my home. But you're not a stranger anymore, Dr. Mensah. You're someone I've decided to protect." "Protect from what?" Nia asked. "From yourself," Jae-sung said. "From the people at that hospital who are trying to break you. From a world that doesn't appreciate what you have to offer." "You're brilliant, Dr. Mensah. I can see it. And I don't need a medical degree to recognize intelligence and strength when I see it. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here for a few days while I make some calls. I'm going to ensure that the investigation into your patient's death is fair and thorough. And I'm going to make sure that Dr. Park and anyone else who's been treating you with prejudice understands that you have powerful friends now. Friends they don't want to anger." Nia shook her head. "You can't just fix my problems with money and influence. That's not how the world works." Jae-sung smiled, and it was cold. "Dr. Mensah, in my world, that's exactly how things work. And right now, whether you like it or not, you're part of my world. So let me help you. Not because I pity you. But because I respect you. And because I think you have more to offer than you realize." The next few days were surreal. Nia stayed in Jae-sung's penthouse, sleeping in the guest room, eating meals he either cooked or had delivered. He was surprisingly good company. Intelligent, well-read, with a dry sense of humor that caught her off guard. They talked about everything: medicine, philosophy, the difference between Ghanaian and Korean culture, the challenges of being an outsider. Jae-sung never pushed her to talk about the suicide attempt, but he was always there, a steady presence. True to his word, Jae-sung made calls. Lots of them. Nia would hear him speaking rapid Korean in his office, his voice hard and commanding. Within 48 hours, the hospital's investigation had completely changed tone. A thorough review determined that Nia had followed all protocols and that the child's death was due to complications no one could have prevented. Dr. Park was formally reprimanded for his discriminatory comments and required to undergo sensitivity training. And Nia received a formal apology from the hospital administration. "How did you do that?" Nia asked one evening as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset. Jae-sung shrugged. "I have connections. The hospital's board chairman owes me several favors. I simply reminded him that allowing prejudice and injustice in his institution would reflect poorly on everyone involved. People respond well to that kind of reminder." Nia looked at him. "You're not just a businessman, are you? There's something else. Something you're not telling me." Jae-sung was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "My family's business isn't entirely conventional, Dr. Mensah. We operate in, let's say, gray areas. Import and export that isn't always legal. Real estate deals that involve intimidation. Entertainment venues that cater to people with specific tastes. My father built an empire that exists between legitimate business and organized crime. And I'm his heir. His successor. The man who will one day control everything he's built. Nia's blood ran cold. You're part of the Korean Mafia. Jae-sung's smile was bitter. We don't call it that. But yes, essentially. My family is one of several powerful organizations that control Seoul's underground economy. We have politicians and police on our payroll. We settle disputes that can't go through legal channels. We protect our own and destroy our enemies. And I've been training for this role my entire life. Nia stood up abruptly. I need to leave. I can't be here. I can't be associated with criminals. Jae-sung didn't move. You're free to go anytime you want, Dr. Mensah. I'm not holding you prisoner. But before you leave, consider this. The world isn't black and white. Good and evil aren't as simple as you think. Yes, my family operates outside the law. But we also protect thousands of people who have nowhere else to turn. We provide jobs, security, justice when the system fails. And right now, we protected you. I protected you. Not because I wanted something from you. But because it was the right thing to do. Nia's hands were shaking. I don't know what to think anymore. Everything is so complicated. Welcome to adulthood, Jae-sung said, finally standing. Nothing is ever simple. But here's what I know. You're an incredible doctor with a brilliant mind and a compassionate heart. The world needs people like you. So whatever you decide about me, about my family, about any of this, promise me you won't give up. Promise me you'll keep fighting to save lives. Because that's what you were meant to do. Nia looked at him, this dangerous, complicated man who'd saved her life. I promise, she whispered. Good, Jae-sung said. Now, are you leaving or staying for dinner? Because I was planning to order Thai food, and it's much better when shared. Despite everything, Nia laughed. I'll stay for dinner. She ended up staying for more than dinner. Days turned into weeks. Nia returned to the hospital, her reputation restored, her confidence slowly rebuilding. But every night, she came back to Jae-sung's penthouse. It had become a refuge. A place where she could let down her guard. Where she didn't have to prove herself or fight for respect. Where she could just be Nia. And Jae-sung, despite his cold exterior and dangerous profession, was surprisingly easy to be around. He asked about her cases, genuinely interested in the medical challenges she faced. He helped her practice Korean, patiently correcting her pronunciation. He cooked for her when she was too exhausted to eat. And slowly, without either of them quite realizing it, they were becoming friends. Or maybe something more. 2 months after the rooftop incident, Nia had a particularly brutal shift. A multi-car accident had filled the ER, and she'd been operating for 14 straight hours. When she finally stumbled into the penthouse at 2 a.m., she found Jae-sung waiting up. He took one look at her exhausted face and pulled her into an unexpected embrace. You did good work today, he said quietly. I'm proud of you. Nia broke down then, all the stress and fear and exhaustion pouring out. Jae-sung held her while she cried, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances in Korean and English. When she finally calmed down, she pulled back and looked up at him. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. For saving my life. For giving me a place to stay. For believing in me when no one else did. Jae-sung cupped her face gently. You saved yourself, Dr. Mensah. I just refused to let you make a mistake. You're stronger than you know. Braver than you think. And he paused, seeming to struggle with the words. I've come to care about you. More than I should. More than is wise for someone in my position. Nia's heart was pounding. I care about you too, she admitted. Even though I know I shouldn't. Even though you're part of a world I don't understand and probably never will. Even though this is complicated and dangerous and probably a terrible idea. Jae-sung smiled, and for once it reached his eyes. Terrible ideas are my specialty, he said. And then he kissed her. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, as if he was afraid she'd pull away. But Nia didn't pull away. She kissed him back, her hands coming up to tangle in his hair, weeks of suppressed attraction and emotion pouring into that kiss. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jae-sung rested his forehead against hers. This changes everything, he whispered. I know, Nia replied. Is that okay? It's terrifying, Jae-sung said. But yes. It's more than okay. They didn't sleep together that night. Jae-sung was careful, respectful, insisting that they take things slow. But they fell asleep on the couch, tangled together, and when Nia woke up in his arms, it felt right in a way nothing had felt right in a very long time. The next few months were a whirlwind. Nia's career flourished. She became one of the most respected residents at the hospital, her skill and dedication impossible to deny. And every night, she came home to Jae-sung. He introduced her to his world slowly, carefully. Dinners with business associates who were clearly more than just businessmen. Visits to clubs and establishments that operated in legal gray areas. Meetings where decisions were made with handshakes and veiled threats rather than contracts. It was terrifying and exhilarating and completely foreign to everything Nia had known. But Jae-sung never pushed her. Never expected her to be anything other than herself. 6 months into their relationship, Jae-sung took her to meet his father. Chairman Kang was in his 70s, a wizened man with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He looked Nia up and down with open assessment. So you're the African doctor who's captured my son's attention, he said in Korean, which Jae-sung translated. You're not what I expected. Nia kept her voice steady. What did you expect, Chairman Kang? The old man smiled. Someone weaker. Someone easier to intimidate. But I can see why Jae-sung chose you. You have fire. Intelligence. Strength. These are valuable qualities. Welcome to the family, Dr. Mensah. Try not to make my son too soft. Nia couldn't help but smile. I'll do my best, sir. But not everyone in Jae-sung's world was welcoming. His younger brother, Kang Min-suk, was openly hostile. She's not one of us, he said in Korean during a family dinner, not bothering to lower his voice even though he knew Nia was learning the language. She doesn't understand our world. She'll be a liability. Jae-sung's voice was cold. Nia is under my protection. Anyone who threatens her, insults her, or undermines her answers to me. Is that understood? Do that for a man. Min-suk, you would do well to find someone who challenges you rather than constantly picking fights with your brother. The tension at the table was thick, but Nia kept her composure. She'd learned that showing weakness in this world was dangerous. After dinner, Jae-sung pulled her aside. I'm sorry about my brother, he said. He's always been jealous. Always trying to prove he should be father's heir instead of me. Don't let him get to you. Nia smiled. I've dealt with worse than a jealous brother, she said. I can handle Min-suk. But Min-suk was more dangerous than Nia realized. 2 weeks later, while Nia was walking home from the hospital, a car pulled up beside her. 3 men got out, grabbed her, and threw her into the vehicle before she could scream. A bag went over her head, and she felt the sharp prick of a needle in her arm. Then everything went black. She woke up in a warehouse, tied to a chair. Her head was pounding, and her vision was blurry. As her eyes adjusted, she saw Min-suk standing in front of her, arms crossed, looking smug. Welcome back, Dr. Mensah, he said in English. I hope you're comfortable. Because you're going to be here for a while. What do you want? Nia demanded, trying to keep her voice steady despite her fear. I want you gone, Mensah said. I want my brother to stop being distracted by a foreign woman who doesn't belong in our world. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Jae-sung. You're going to tell him that you're leaving Korea. Going back to Ghana. That you can't handle this life anymore. And then you're going to disappear. If you do this, I'll let you live. If you don't, well, accidents happen all the time. Nia's mind was racing. She knew Jae-sung would be looking for her. But she also knew that Mensah was dangerous, unhinged, driven by jealousy and ambition. And I'm supposed to believe you'll just let me go if I cooperate, she asked. Mensah shrugged. You're going to have to trust me. Do you have a choice? Before Nia could respond, the warehouse door exploded inward. Jae-sung burst through, followed by a dozen men in black suits. He looked like death itself, his face a mask of cold rage. His eyes locked onto Nia, checking that she was alive, before turning to his brother. Mensah, he said, his voice deadly quiet. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Mensah backed up, suddenly looking less confident. Brother, I was just... You kidnapped the woman I love, Jae-sung interrupted. You threatened her. You put your hands on her. There is no explanation that will save you now. Mensah pulled out a gun, pointing it at Nia. Stay back, he yelled. Or I'll kill her. I swear I will. Jae-sung didn't even flinch. If you hurt her, there is nowhere in this world you can hide from me. I will hunt you down. I will destroy everything you love. And I will make you beg for death before I grant it. Now put down the gun and step away from her. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, shockingly, Chairman Kang stepped out from behind Jae-sung. Mensah, he said wearily. You foolish boy. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That I wouldn't have you followed? You've embarrassed this family. Betrayed your brother. And threatened an innocent woman. You're done. Father, Mensah pleaded. I was trying to protect. You were trying to seize power you haven't earned, Chairman Kang said. And in doing so, you've proven you're not worthy of it. Guards. Take him. Two men stepped forward and disarmed Mensah, dragging him away despite his protests. Jae-sung rushed to Nia, cutting her bonds with a knife. Are you hurt? He demanded. Did he touch you? I'm okay, Nia said, though she was shaking. Jae-sung, I'm okay. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. I thought I'd lost you, he whispered. When you didn't come home, when I couldn't find you, his voice broke. I can't lose you, Nia. I love you. I love you, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you got dragged into this. Nia pulled back to look at him. I love you too, she said. And I'm not going anywhere. This is my world now. Our world. Whatever that means, we face it together. Jae-sung kissed her then, desperate and relieved, and Nia kissed him back, grateful to be alive, grateful to be loved. Chairman Kang cleared his throat. As touching as this is, we should leave. This location isn't secure. They returned to the penthouse, where Jae-sung refused to let Nia out of his sight. He checked her injuries, made her tea, held her while she processed the trauma of being kidnapped. What's going to happen to Mensah? She finally asked. Jae-sung's expression was grim. He'll be exiled. Stripped of his position in the family. Cut off from all resources. He's lucky father is being merciful. If it were up to me, he paused. But father's decision is final. Nia nodded. I don't want you to become a monster because of me. I know you have to be hard in your world, but don't let it consume you. You make me better, Jae-sung said. You remind me that there's more to life than power and control. That there's kindness and compassion and healing. That's why I need you, Nia. You balance me. Keep me human. Nia smiled. Then I guess we need each other. A year after the rooftop incident, Jae-sung took Nia back to Ghana to meet her family. Her parents were wary at first, concerned about their daughter dating a Korean man involved in dangerous business. But Jae-sung won them over with his respect, his obvious love for Nia, and his promise to always protect her. He funded the construction of a new clinic in Nia's hometown, fully equipped and staffed, fulfilling her dream of bringing quality healthcare to underserved communities. They were married 6 months later in a ceremony that blended Ghanaian and Korean traditions. Nia wore a beautiful Kent cloth dress for part of the ceremony and a traditional Korean hanbok for another. Both families attended, an unlikely fusion of cultures and worlds. And as Nia and Jae-sung exchanged vows, promising to love and protect each other through whatever challenges came, Nia thought back to that night on the rooftop. She'd been ready to end her life, convinced she had nothing left to offer the world. But Jae-sung had refused to let her fall. Had pulled her back and given her a reason to keep fighting. And in return, she'd given him something he'd never had, unconditional love from someone who saw past his dangerous exterior to the man underneath. 5 years later, they had 2 children, a daughter named Alma and a son named Ji-hoon. Nia continued her medical career, eventually becoming the head of the trauma department at Seoul National University Hospital, the first African woman to hold that position. And Jae-sung, true to his word, slowly transitioned the family business toward legitimate enterprises, using his power and influence to create positive change rather than just accumulate wealth. Was it perfect? No. There were still challenges. Cultural differences to navigate. Threats from rivals who saw Nia as a weakness. Moments of doubt and fear. But they faced everything together. And on the anniversary of the night they met, Jae-sung and Nia would go up to that rooftop, stand at the edge, and remember how close they'd come to never finding each other. Thank you, Nia would say every year. For not letting me fall. Thank you for falling with me instead, Jae-sung would reply. And then they'd go home to their family, to the life they'd built together, and be grateful for every moment. So if you were Nia, would you have stayed with Jae-sung despite his dangerous world, or would you have left when you learned the truth? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you loved this story, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves a good romance, and subscribe for more epic stories like this one. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep believing in love that saves lives. But their story didn't end with that perfect family portrait. Because in their world, peace was always temporary. 7 years after that rooftop meeting, when Alma was 5 and Ji-hoon was 3, a new threat emerged. A rival organization from Busan, led by a man named Choi Dae-young, decided that the Kang family had grown too soft, too legitimate, too weak. And they saw Nia as the perfect target. It started small. Threatening messages left at the hospital. Photos of the children at their school. A dead bird left on the doorstep of their home with a note in Korean, "Your family dies next." Jae-sung immediately tripled security, but Nia could see the fear in his eyes. This was different from Min-suk's jealous vendetta. This was professional. Calculated. Deadly. "We should send the children away," Jae-sung said one night after they'd put Alma and Ji-hoon to bed. "To your parents in Ghana. Just until this is over." Nia shook her head. "Separating our family is exactly what they want. To show weakness. To prove we're vulnerable. We stay together. We fight together. Just like we always have." Jae-sung pulled her close. You're the strongest person I know, he said. But I can't lose you. I can't lose any of you. The attack came 3 days later. Nia was leaving the hospital after her shift when gunfire erupted in the parking garage. Her bodyguards immediately surrounded her, returning fire, pushing her toward the car. She could hear bullets ricocheting off concrete, could smell gunpowder and fear. One of her guards, a young man named Kim who had a daughter Alma's age, took a bullet meant for her. He fell, blood spreading across his chest. Nia's medical training kicked in immediately. She dropped to her knees beside him, ignoring the continued gunfire, her hands moving to stop the bleeding. Hold on, Kim, she said in Korean. Stay with me. Don't you dare die. But even as she worked, she knew it was bad. The bullet had hit an artery. Without immediate surgery, he wouldn't make it. The other guards finally neutralized the shooters and rushed Nia and Kim to the hospital. Nia scrubbed in herself, refusing to let anyone else operate. She worked for 6 hours, fighting to save the life of the man who'd tried to save hers. When she finally emerged, exhausted and covered in blood, she found Jae-sung waiting. His face was pale, his hands clenched into fists. Is he alive? Jae-sung asked. Nia nodded. He'll make it. But Jae-sung, this has to stop. They tried to kill me in broad daylight. What's next? An attack on the children's school. On our home. We can't live like this. I know, Jae-sung said. And it ends tonight. What are you going to do? Nia asked, fear clutching her heart. Whatever it takes, Jae-sung replied. Stay here. Stay safe. I'll be back. Don't do anything stupid, Nia pleaded. Don't become the monster I know you're capable of being. Please. Jae-sung cupped her face. I'll do what needs to be done, he said. But I'll come back to you. I promise. He left, and Nia spent the night pacing the hospital, checking on Kim, worrying about Jae-sung. She called her children, talked to them on video chat, told them she loved them without letting them hear the fear in her voice. She prayed to the God her mother had taught her to believe in, begging for protection for the man she loved. Jae-sung returned at dawn, and Nia knew immediately that something had changed. His suit was clean, but there was blood under his fingernails. His eyes were harder, colder, haunted. What did you do? She whispered. What I had to, Jae-sung replied. Choi Dae-young is dead. His organization has been dismantled. The threat is over. Nia felt sick. You killed him. We're not having this conversation, Jae-sung said. Not here. Not now. But yes. I eliminated the threat to my family. And I'd do it again without hesitation. This is who I am, Nia. This is the world you married into. I've never lied to you about that. Nia stared at the man she loved, seeing both the protective husband and father, and the dangerous killer. I know, she finally said. I know who you are. All of you. And I still love you. But Jae-sung, we need to get out. Really out. Not just transitioning to legitimate business, but leaving this world entirely. Moving somewhere safe. Raising our children without bodyguards and threats and violence. Jae-sung was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. You're right, he said. After this, after everything, you're right. Let me settle some final business. Close some doors. Make sure we can leave without looking back. Give me 6 months. 6 months, and we'll go anywhere you want. Ghana. Europe. America. Anywhere. The next 6 months were intense. Jae-sung systematically transferred power, sold off assets, made deals with other families to ensure their safety. Chairman Kang, now in his 80s and ready to retire, supported the decision. You've done well, my son, he told Jae-sung. You've honored our family. But more importantly, you've built your own family. One worth protecting above all else. Go. Live. Be happy. Nia continued working at the hospital, but she began making plans too. She applied for positions at several international hospitals, looking for opportunities that would allow her to continue her career while keeping her family safe. And finally, she received an offer from Doctors Without Borders. A position in their administrative headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. It was perfect. Far from Korea. Prestigious. Safe. On their last night in Seoul, Jae-sung and Nia went back to the rooftop where they'd met. They stood at the edge, looking out at the city that had been their home for so long. Do you regret any of it? Jae-sung asked. Meeting me. Staying. Everything that came after. Nia thought about the question carefully. The trauma. The danger. The constant fear. But also the love. The family. The purpose. No, she finally said. I don't regret a single moment. Because every challenge, every fear, every dangerous situation led me here. Led us here. To this moment. To this life. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. What about you? Do you regret saving me that night? Jae-sung pulled her close. Saving you was the best decision I ever made, he said. You gave me a reason to be better. To want more than power and control. You gave me love. Family. Hope. I'd walk through fire for you, Nia. Every single day. They moved to Geneva 3 weeks later. The transition was surreal. Going from constant security and danger to a quiet, normal life. Their children attended a regular school without bodyguards. Nia worked long hours helping coordinate medical relief efforts around the world. Jae-sung struggled at first, adjusting to being just a regular person rather than a feared crime boss. But slowly, he found his footing. He started a consulting business, using his strategic mind and business acumen to help companies negotiate difficult deals. Completely legal. Completely legitimate. A year after the move, Nia came home from work to find Jae-sung cooking dinner with the children. Alma was helping him chop vegetables, her tongue sticking out in concentration. Ji-hoon was setting the table, chattering away in a mix of Korean, English, and the French he was learning at school. It was so beautifully normal that Nia felt tears spring to her eyes. This, she thought. This is what I almost missed. This ordinary, perfect moment. If I'd jumped from that rooftop 7 years ago, none of this would exist. Jae-sung looked up and caught her watching. He smiled, a genuine, warm smile so different from the cold mask he used to wear. Everything okay? He asked. Everything is perfect, Nia replied. But even in Geneva, their past had a way of finding them. 2 years after the move, Nia was attending a medical conference when she ran into Dr. Park, her old supervisor from Seoul National University Hospital. The man who'd told her she didn't belong, who'd blamed her for her patient's death, who'd driven her to that rooftop. Dr. Mensah, he said, shock evident on his face. I didn't expect to see you here. Dr. Park, Nia replied coolly. How are you? He looked older, diminished somehow. I wanted to apologize, he stammered. For how I treated you in Seoul. I was wrong. Prejudiced. I let my biases cloud my judgment. You were an excellent doctor, and I made your life hell because of my own insecurities. I'm sorry. Nia studied him for a moment. For years, she'd imagined what she'd say if she ever saw him again. The angry words. The justified recriminations. But now, standing here in her expensive suit, confident and successful, with a family she loved and a life she'd built, she realized she didn't need his apology. She'd moved so far beyond that pain. I appreciate you saying that, she finally said. And I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to carry that anger anymore. I built a good life, Dr. Park. A beautiful life. And your cruelty was just a chapter in my story. Not the whole book. She walked away, leaving him standing there, and felt lighter than she had in years. That night, she told Jae-sung about the encounter. He listened quietly, then said, "You're a better person than I am. If I'd run into someone who'd hurt you like that, I don't know if I could have been so gracious." That's the difference between us, Nia said with a smile. You protect with violence. I heal with forgiveness. It's why we work. Balance. As their children grew, Nia and Jae-sung were careful about how much they told them about their past. Alma, smart and observant, started asking questions when she was 12. Why do we have different last names than other families? Why do Grandpa Kang's friends look so scary? Why did we move from Korea so suddenly? Jae-sung and Nia decided to tell her an edited version of the truth. That they'd been part of a world that wasn't always good. That they'd made choices to protect their family. That they'd left to give her and Ji-hoon a better life. Alma processed this quietly, then asked, "Do you regret it?" The things you did. Jae-sung didn't lie to her. Yes, he said. I regret many things. I regret the violence. The fear I caused. The lives I affected. But I don't regret the choices that led me to your mother. Or to you and your brother. Those choices, I'd make again in a heartbeat. Alma nodded slowly. I think I understand, she said. You were trying to survive in a hard world. And then you chose a better one. Ji-hoon, when he was old enough to be told, had a different reaction. That's so cool, he said, his eyes wide. You were like in a movie. Jae-sung and Nia exchanged glances. It wasn't cool, Nia said firmly. It was dangerous and wrong and nothing to admire. Real life isn't like movies, Ji-hoon. People get hurt. Families are destroyed. Your father and I made sure you'd never have to live that life. And we expect you to honor that by making better choices. Chastened, Ji-hoon nodded. I understand, Alma. 20 years after that night on the rooftop, Nia and Jae-sung returned to Seoul for the first time. Chairman Kang had passed away peacefully in his sleep, and they were there for the funeral. It was strange being back. The city had changed, modernized even more. But some things were the same. The hospital where Nia had trained. The penthouse where they'd fallen in love. The rooftop where everything had started. After the funeral, Jae-sung took Nia's hand. Want to go back, he asked. To the roof. One more time. Nia nodded. They made their way to Seoul National University Hospital, talking their way past security, riding the elevator to the top floor. The rooftop was the same. Same concrete. Same ledge. Same view of the city sprawling below. 20 years, Nia said softly. Can you believe it's been 20 years? Jae-sung pulled her close. Best 20 years of my life, he said. Even with all the danger and chaos and fear. Because I got to spend them with you. Nia leaned into him. I was so broken when you found me here, she said. So convinced I had nothing left to offer the world. And you showed me I was wrong. You gave me a reason to live. And then you gave me 1,000 more reasons. Our children. Our life. Our love. They stood there for a long time, remembering. All the moments that had brought them to this point. The fear and the joy. The danger and the safety. The past and the present. Finally, as the sun began to set over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Jae-sung said, ready to go home. Home to Geneva. home to our life. Nia smiled. Yes, she said. Let's go home. And as they walked away from that rooftop for the last time, Nia thought about the young woman she'd been 20 years ago. Desperate. Broken. Ready to end everything. And she wished she could go back and tell her younger self, hold on. Just hold on. Because a man with kind eyes and a complicated past is about to grab your wrist and change your entire life. And it's going to be hard and scary and dangerous. But it's also going to be beautiful. So please, just hold on. 5 years later, Nia published a memoir about her experiences. She changed names and details to protect people's privacy, but the core story remained. A young African doctor on the brink of suicide, saved by a Korean man with a dangerous past. Their unlikely love story. The challenges of bridging two worlds. The choice to leave everything behind for family and safety. The book became an international bestseller, resonating with people who'd faced their own moments of despair, their own complicated loves, their own impossible choices. Jae-sung, now in his late 50s and completely gray but still devastatingly handsome, attended every book signing with her. He'd sit in the back, watching his wife inspire thousands of people with her story. Their story. And he'd remember that night 20 years ago when he'd been walking on a rooftop, unable to sleep, troubled by business problems that seemed insurmountable at the time. How he'd seen a figure standing at the edge. How he'd almost walked away. Almost minded his own business. Almost let fate take its course. But something had made him stay. Made him reach out. Made him grab that wrist and pull back hard. At one signing, a young woman approached Nia with tears streaming down her face. Thank you, the woman said. Thank you for writing this. I was planning, she couldn't finish the sentence. Nia came around the table and hugged her. I know, she said softly. I've been where you are. And I'm telling you what someone once told me. Hold on. Things change. Life gets better. You get stronger. Just please, hold on. The woman nodded, clutching Nia's book like a lifeline. Jae-sung watched from the back, his eyes bright with unshed tears. His wife had taken her darkest moment and turned it into light for others. Had transformed pain into purpose. Had chosen to save lives not just in operating rooms, but with words and hope and shared experience. She was magnificent. And she was his. That night, back in their Geneva apartment, with their children grown and living their own lives, Jae-sung and Nia sat on their balcony. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't been on that rooftop? Jae-sung asked. If I'd gone home 5 minutes earlier. If I'd walked away. If I'd let you jump. Nia was quiet for a moment. Sometimes, she admitted. But then I remember that I don't believe in coincidence. I think we were meant to meet that night. Meant to save each other. Because yes, you saved my life. But I saved yours too. From loneliness. From becoming a monster. From a future with no love in it. You're right, Jae-sung said. We saved each other. And we keep saving each other every day. Nia smiled and took his hand. 25 years, she said. 25 years since you grabbed my wrist on that rooftop and refused to let me fall. Best 25 years of my life. Same, Jae-sung replied. And here's to 25 more. They sat there as night fell over Geneva, two people who'd found each other in the darkest moment, who'd built a life from ashes and hope and stubborn love. And somewhere in Seoul, on a hospital rooftop, the concrete ledge stood silent. A monument to the moment that changed everything. The moment when death turned into life. When despair turned into hope. When a stranger became a soulmate. And when a single act of compassionate intervention created a love story that would span decades and inspire thousands. Nia Mensah had climbed to that rooftop ready to end her story. but instead, she'd started the greatest chapter of her life. And somewhere in the universe, fate smiled. Because sometimes, the most beautiful stories begin at the edge of an ending. Sometimes, the best love stories start with a simple grab of a wrist. Sometimes, the people who save us become the people we can't imagine living without. And sometimes, just sometimes, the person standing on the edge of a rooftop at 3 a.m. isn't alone. Sometimes there's someone walking by who refuses to look away. Who reaches out. Who holds on. Who says, "Not tonight. Not on my watch." Sometimes there's a Kang Jae-sung waiting to save a Nia Mensah. And that makes all the difference. So if you were Nia, would you have stayed with Jae-sung despite his dangerous past and complicated world, or would you have left when you learned the truth about who he was? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you loved this story, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves a good romance, and subscribe for more epic stories like this one. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep believing in love that saves lives.